What is going on YouTube? Modeling that back at you with part 2 of the Jeep CJ7 Daisy Dukes Dixie build. And as you can see, got some stuff together here. So done quite a bit of work, just mostly like little tiny build times after I get home from work and stuff like that. So got the hood and everything attached. I went ahead and tried to do an undercoating of black. However, I finally found a great set of references um, from a build that a person did, and I really like the design. It is actually white on the inside, so I'm going to need to spray this with the undercoat, which is what's on the main body right now. That would be the Tamiya Surface Primer white. I have this in the gray. I'll be honest, I don't care for this as much. However, seeing I'm going with white, obviously, as the primary color, I need that white base coat. So I've got that on here. I've also went ahead and got the Jeep body pretty much sorted out. Now, the one interesting thing about the Jeep that I'm using as a reference, it may or may not be accurate. It's hard to see the interior of the Jeep in the original series, whether it was carpeted or not. And so the example that I found, I can't remember the website. I can put it down in the link below. It actually has a very kind of a medium dark brown carpet. I actually have flocking material that I picked up that I'm planning on actually using to flock the interior here to create a carpet effect. So I'll do that and show you guys kind of how I do that. I've got a few different YouTubers that I've been watching for a long time that do the flocking, and I really like the end result with that. So I think with this build, I'm going to give it a go. Same with the, as you can see with the black on the bottom, went ahead, tried masking it. This thing's just a bear to mask. So at this point, I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and spray it all white, deal with that, and then I'll come back in and respray the underside black and then weather it out a little bit, just a light bit of dust, things like that. But the underside, not really much has been done on the shell other than adding the firewall in. And then tonight I went ahead and got the roll cage on and the rear door. I know I mentioned I wasn't going to clean up too many sink marks, stuff like that. However, the rear door has some that are just too blatantly obvious. I can't let them go. So one of the other projects that I really worked on was getting the entire chassis together, putting the frame and the suspension. I still need to kind of do some detail with this, get all of the suspension work on it. If I had it to do over, I'm not sure I would have went ahead and assembled this in place of spraying all of the parts initially and then putting them together. All of the angles, I was just having a real bear of a time getting all of the angles. And in fact, when I was looking tonight, there's a couple of angles kind of shooting down at this front tie rod that it didn't cover it as well as what I'd hoped. So I might come back in with just a brush where I can see it and just kind of touch it in. Again, I'm going to do some just dust weathering. So hopefully it'll cover up any brush marks, things like that. But overall, happy with the chassis. Like I said, in the future though, if you ever want to build this, I would highly suggest go ahead and the suspension parts, they're such a great fit. Just go ahead and paint the front suspension and rear suspension and then glue it on, and then you can respray the black undertone or whatever your undertone will be for the build that you're doing. It just makes life a whole lot easier to be able to get all of the weird intricate angles and stuff like that. But in either case, that is the chassis. The other bit that I went ahead and got together and painted tonight is the engine. Again, not 100% sure what the true engine color would have been on the Jeep. I have the entire series of the Dukes of Hazzard, but I'm not going to sit and watch. I don't have the time to really sit and just watch the entire series to try to find the proper color. So the build that they had it in a metallic green. And this is a complete blast from the past. For any old school modelers, you'd probably remember these. Polyscale, water-based paints. This thing, I'll see if I can maybe scope out any sort of copyright date. These things have got to be at the earliest from the early 2000s, maybe late 2000s, early 2010 time frame, but an extremely old paint in today's standards. Where I got it was at Phil's Hobby Shop up in Fort Wayne. As you can see there, they happen to have a sale going out on these things, and I bought up a bunch. Again, cheap paint. Thought, well, you know what, I'll give it a go. But this stuff sprayed absolutely beautiful. This is without primer. This is right onto the blue. It just overcoated beautifully. Now it does maybe look a little darker than what the underside does, or what you can see there on the bottle. Reason for that is, to me, when I held it into the main chassis, looked a little bit flashy, a little bit too bright of a color. So I used the Tamiya Panaline Accent Black just to kind of give it a general wash, and that way it will get it a bit more of a muted color. I'll try to get a good shot here if I can of that color tone, but like I said, for the most part, turned out really nicely. I like that metallic green, and when you stick it into, or kind of the engine bay here, like I said, once you see the reference pictures that I'm kind of mimicking, it actually looks the part and looks pretty darn close. So, like I said, may not be 100% original and correct, but that is not what I'm doing with this build. I'm not going to go all rivet counter on this one. This one's just more of a fun build for me, kind of get the mojo going again. And so, yeah, that's about it. Little update. I know that I posted a video on this. We got the garage completely sorted out. That is back to normal. I'll probably go ahead and pull kind of the channel update video that I had posted. I'll go ahead and pull that down at this point because that's no longer truly applicable, and we'll go from there. So if you want, you can check me out on Facebook. I do have a link to my Facebook account. This one, just kind of as a side note, is another build I'm working on. It is an 81 to 85 Regal that would have drove in NASCAR. This one was actually the Bobby Allison kit. However, after a couple of painting flip-flops, it didn't really turn out the way that I wanted. So underneath this bottom strip of Tamiya tape here is a strip of black. There was an old car that used to run down at Anderson Speedway in Indiana that I'm kind of pulling as a tribute for this one. I don't have the correct numbers to do it up the exact way that they did. However, to give a little heads up for the way this one will be built out, it'll be a nice, just kind of average run-of-the-mill red. Not really a bright red or a dark red, just kind of a medium shade of red. The bottom here, which like I said is black, I'm actually going to checkerboard out. It was a design that they did underneath the doors on what that one was actually a Monte Carlo, but seeing I had an extra Regal kicking around, I thought, you know what, I'll put that to use and build kind of a tribute to something I remember, racing around the track as a kid. So like I said, this one's not going to be any sort of video build. I've got a ton of NASCARs that I'm wanting to go ahead and build up as those. So that'll just kind of be a photo build, or photo collage once it's done, to show off at the end. So hopefully you guys are happy that I'm back. I'm definitely glad to be back and ready to really kind of get rocking here at the bench more, and that way we can start getting some of these builds cranked out. I've been buying and collecting kits for too long and not building enough of them. So hope you guys are doing well with the current pandemic situation. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content that I have had up for a long time, and look forward to the future. So until then, I will catch you later. Bottling Nut out.